Do the cells of your body, the muscles of your arm, think to set themselves up as having a separate will from your will, or a separate intelligence from your intelligence? No. They know no intelligence but yours, no will but yours. After a while, it will be that you will realize you are only one of the cells of my body, and that your will is not your will but mine. That what consciousness and what intelligence you have are mine wholly, and there is no such person as you personally being only a physical form containing a human brain which I created for the purpose of expressing in matter and idea a certain phase of which I could express best only in that particular form. All this may be difficult for you now to accept, and you may protest very strenuously that it cannot be, that every instinct of your nature rebels against such yielding and subordinating yourself to an unseen and unknown power, however impersonal or divine. Fear not. It is only your personality that thus rebels. If you continue to follow and study my words, all will soon be made clear, and I will surely open up to your inner understanding many wonderful truths that now are impossible for you to comprehend. Your soul will rejoice, sing glad praises, and you will bless these words for the message they bring. Now, you may not yet know I am, or believe that I am really you, or that I am likewise your brother and your sister, and that you are parts of me and one with me. You may not realize that the souls of you and your brother and sister, the only real and imperishable parts of the mortal you, are but different phases of me in expression in what is called nature. Likewise, you may not realize that you and your brothers and sisters are phases or attributes of my divine nature, just as your human personality, with its mortal body, mind, and intellect, is a phase of your human nature. No, you do not realize this yet, but I speak of it now, that you may know the signs when they begin to appear in your consciousness, as they surely will. In order to recognize these signs, all that now follows must be considered carefully and studied, and should not be passed by until my meaning, at least in some degree, is grasped. Once you fully understand the principle I here set down, then all my message will become clear and comprehensible. I first give you the key that will unlock every mystery that now hides from you the secret of my being. This key, when you once know how to use it, will open the door to all wisdom and all power in heaven and earth. Yea, it will open the door to the kingdom of heaven. And then you have but to enter in, to become consciously one with me. This key is: to think is to create. Or, as you think in your heart, so is it with you. Stop and meditate on this, that it may get firmly fixed in your mind. A thinker is a creator. A thinker lives in a world of his own conscious creation. When you once know how to think, you can create at will anything you wish, whether it be a new personality, a new environment, or a new world. Let us see if you cannot grasp some of the truths hidden and controlled by this key. You have been shown how all consciousness is one, and how it is all my consciousness, and yet is also yours, and likewise that of the animal, the plant, the stone, and the invisible cell. You have seen how this consciousness is controlled by my will, which causes the invisible cells to unite and form the various organisms for the expression and use of the different centers of intelligence through which I desire to express. But you cannot yet see how you can direct and control the consciousness of the cells of your own body, not to speak of those of other bodies. Even if you and I, and they are all one in consciousness and intelligence. By paying special attention to what follows, however, you now may be enabled to see this. Have you ever taken the pains to study out what is consciousness? How it seems to be an impersonal state of awareness, of waiting to serve or to be directed or used by some power latent in and intimately related to itself. How man seems to be merely the highest type of organism containing this consciousness, which is directed and used by this power within itself. That this power latent in man's consciousness and in all consciousness is nothing but will, my will. For you know that all power is but manifestation of my will. Now you have been told that in the beginning I created man in my image and likeness, after which I breathed into him the breath of life, and he became a living soul. By creating man in my image and likeness, I created an organism capable of expressing all of my consciousness and all of my will, which means likewise all of my power, my intelligence, and my love. I therefore made it perfect in the beginning, patterning it after my own perfection. When I breathed into man's organism my breath, it became alive with me. For then it was I breathed into it my will, not from without, but from within, from the kingdom of heaven within, where always I am. Ever afterward I breathed and lived and had my being within man, for I created him in my image and likeness only for that purpose. The proof of this is man does not and cannot breathe of himself. Sometimes far greater than his conscious natural self lives in his body and breathes through his lungs. A mighty power within his body thus uses the lungs, even as it uses the heart, to force the blood containing the life it indrew through the lungs to every cell of the body. As it uses the stomach and other organs to digest and assimilate food, to make blood, tissue, hair, and bone, as it uses the brain, the tongue, the hands, and feet to think and say and do everything that man does. This power is my will to be and live in man. Therefore, whatever man is, I am. And whatever man does, or you do, I do. And whatever you say or think, it is I who say or think it through your organism. You were also told that when man was thus possessed of my breath, he was given dominion over all the kingdoms of the earth, which means he was made Lord of the earth, the sea, the air, and the ethers, and all beings living in all these kingdoms paid him homage and were subject to his will. This naturally was so, for I, within man's consciousness and within all consciousness, am always manifesting my will. And I, the Lord and ruler of man's organism, am likewise the Lord and ruler of all organisms in which consciousness dwells. As all consciousness is my consciousness, and it dwells wherever there is life, and as there is no substance in which there is not life, then my consciousness must be in everything, in earth, water, air, and fire, and therefore must fill all space. In fact, it is space, or that which man calls space. Then my will, being the power latent in all consciousness, must reach everywhere. Therefore, man's will, which is but a focalization of my will, must likewise reach everywhere. Hence the consciousness of all organisms, including his own, is subject to man's direction and control. All it needs is for him consciously to realize this, realize that I, the impersonal self within him, am constantly directing, controlling, and using the consciousness of all organisms every moment of every day of his life. I am doing this by and through his thinking. I am doing this with and through man's organism. Man thinks he thinks, but it is I, the real I of him, who thinks through his organism. Through this thinking and his spoken word, I accomplish all that man does, and make man and his world all that they are. It makes no difference if man and his world are not what he supposes they are. They are just what I created them to be for my purpose. If I do all the thinking, man does not and cannot think, I hear you say. Yes, here seems a mystery, but it will be revealed to you if you note carefully what follows. For I am going to teach you, man, how to think. I have said that man does not think, that it is I within him who is thinking. I have also said man thinks he thinks, as this is an apparent contradiction. I needs must show you that man ordinarily does not think any more than he does anything else he supposes he does. For I, within him, do all that he does. But I necessarily do it through his organism, through his personality, his body, mind, and soul. I will point out how this can be. First, try to realize that I made you in my image and likeness, and that I have my being within you. Even if you do not know this now and believe that I, God, am somewhere without, and that we are separated, try for the time being to imagine I am within you. Next, realize that which you do when you think is not real thinking, because it is not conscious thinking, for you are unconscious of me, the inspirer and director of every idea and thought that enters your mind. Next, realize because I am within you, and you are my image and likeness, and therefore possess all of my faculties. You have the power of thinking, but not being conscious that thinking is creating, and that it is one of my divine powers you are using. You have indeed all your life been thinking, but it has all been misthinking, or what you would call error thinking. And this error thinking, this not knowing it is my power you have been thus misusing, has been separating you in consciousness farther and farther from me, but all the time fulfilling my purpose, which later on will be made manifest to you. The proof of this is you think you are separated from me, that you are living in a material world, that your body of flesh engenders and harbors pleasure and pain, and that an evil influence called the devil is manifesting in the world opposing my will. Yes, you think all these things are so. They are to you, for all things are to man's mortal consciousness. What he thinks or believes, they are. I have likewise caused them to appear to man to be what he thinks they are. This also is to suit my purpose and to fulfill the law of creating. Let us see if this is not true. If you believe a thing is so, is not that thing really so to you? Is it not true that a thing seems real to you, like some sin or evil, so-called, some sorrow, trouble, or worry, only because your thinking or believing it so makes it such? Others might see that thing entirely different and might think your view of it is foolish. Might they not? If this is true, then your body, your personality, your character, your environment, your world are what they appear to be to you, because you have thought them into their present status. Therefore, you can change them by the same process. If they do not please you, you can make them whatever you will by thinking them so, can you not? But how can one do real thinking, conscious thinking, so as to bring about this change, you ask? First know that I, your real self, purposely brought to your attention these things which now are displeasing and which cause you to think them as being what they now seem to be to you. I, and I alone, am thus preparing your human mind so that when you turn within to me in abiding faith and trust, I can enable you to see and bring into outer manifestation the reality of these things which now seem so unsatisfactory. For I bring to you everything that by its outer seeming can attract or lure your human mind onward in its earthly search, in order to teach you of the illusoriness of all outer appearance of material things to the human mind, and of the fallibility of all human understanding, so that you will turn finally within to me and my wisdom as the one and only interpreter and guide. When you have turned thus within to me, I will open your eyes and cause you to see that the only way you can ever bring about this change in thinking is by first changing your attitude toward all these things you now think are not what they ought to be. That is, if they are unsatisfactory or obnoxious to you and affect you so as to cause your discomfort of body or disturbance of mind. Why stop thinking that they can so affect or disturb you? For who is the master? Your body, your mind, or you? The I am within. Then why not show you are master by thinking the true things the I am of you within wishes you to think? It is only by your thinking these other things, by allowing these inharmonious thoughts to enter your mind, and by so doing giving them the power so to affect or disturb you, that they have any such influence over you. When you stop thinking into them this power and turn within to me and allow me to direct your thinking, they will at once disappear from your consciousness and dissolve into nothingness from which you're created them by your thinking. When you are willing to do this, then, and then only, are you ready to receive truth. And by proper conscious thinking directed by me to create the true and permanent things I within you wish you to create. Then, when you can thus distinguish the true from the false, the real from the seeming, your conscious thinking will be as potent to create all things you desire as has been your unconsciousness thinking in the past in creating those things you once desired but now find obnoxious. For it was by your unconscious thinking, or thinking unconscious of the control your desires exercised over your creative power, that your world and your life are now what you sometime in the past desired them to be. Have you ever studied and analyzed the process of the working of your mind when a new idea fertile with possibilities appears? Have you noticed the relation that desire bears to such an idea, and how through thinking that idea is finally brought to actual fruition? Let us study this relation and process. There is always first the idea, not considering at this moment the necessity or occasion for its appearance. It matters not whence the idea comes, from within or without, for it is always I who inspire it or cause it to impress your consciousness at the particular moment it does. Then, just to the extent that you grow quiet and focus your attention upon that idea, stilling all activities of your mind and eliminating all other ideas and thoughts from your consciousness, so that idea can have full sway, do I illumine your mind and cause you to unfold before your mental gaze the various phases and possibilities contained within that idea. This takes place, however, up to this point, without any volition on your part, other than focusing or concentrating your attention upon the idea. Once I have given your human mind a view of its possibilities and have enlisted your interest, then does your human personality take up its task. For as I created and inspired the idea in your mind, so did I cause the idea to fructify therein and give birth to desire. desire to bring into outer manifestation all the possibilities of the idea, desire, thus becoming the mortal agent of my will and supplying the motive power, just as the human personality is the mortal instrument used to confine and focus that power. Yes, all ideas and all desires come thus from me. They are my ideas and my desires, which I inspire in your mind and heart in order to bring them through you into outer manifestation. You have no ideas of your own and could not possibly have a desire that came from other than me, for I am all there is. Therefore all desires are good, and when thus understood unfailingly come into speedy and complete fulfillment. You may wrongly interpret my desires, my urges from within, and seek to use them for your own selfish purpose. But even while permitting this, they still fulfill my purpose, for it is only by letting you misuse my gifts, and by the suffering such misuse brings, that I can make you into the clean and selfless channel I require for the perfect expression of my ideas. We have, then, first, the idea in the mind, then the desire to bring the idea into outer manifestation. So much for the relation. Now for the process of realization. In accordance with the definiteness with which the picture of the idea is held in the mind, and the extent to which the idea possesses the personality, does its creative power, impelled by desire, proceed with its work. This it does by compelling the mortal mind to think out or to imagine, image in, or, in other words, to build mental forms into which I can pour, as into a vacuum, the impersonal, elemental, vital substance of the idea. When the word is spoken, either silently or audibly, consciously or unconsciously, this substance at once begins to materialize itself by first directing and controlling the consciousness and all the activities of both mind and body, and of all minds and all bodies connected with or related to the idea. For remember, all consciousness and all minds and all bodies are mine, and are not separated, but are one and wholly impersonal, and then so attracting, directing, shaping and molding conditions, things and events that sooner or later the idea actually comes forth into definite, tangible manifestation. So it is that everything, every condition, every event that has ever transpired was first an idea in the mind. It was by desiring, by thinking, and by speaking forth the word that these ideas came into visible manifestation. Think this out and prove it for yourself. This you can do, if you will, by taking any idea that comes and follow it out through the above process to realization, or by tracing back any feat you have accomplished, any picture you have painted, any machine you have invented, or any particular thing or condition now existing to the idea from which it sprang. This is the plan and process of all true thinking, and therefore of all creation. Listen. You have now and always have had, through this power of thinking, dominion over the kingdoms of the earth. If you but know it, you have now, this moment, only to think and speak the word, realizing your power, and that I, God, your omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent self, will bring about the results, and the waiting consciousness of the invisible cells of all matter upon which your will and attention become focused, which waiting consciousness is my consciousness, remember, will begin immediately to obey and do exactly according to the image or plans you have prepared by your thinking. For all things are made by the Word, and without the Word was not anything made that was made. When you can once realize this, and can know that I am consciousness within you, is one with the consciousness of all animate and inanimate matter, and that its will is one with your will, which is my will, and that all your desires are my desires, then will you begin to know and feel me within, and will acknowledge the power and glory of my idea, which is eternally expressing itself impersonally through you. But it is first wholly necessary that you learn how to think, how to know your thoughts, those directed by me, from the thoughts of others, how to trace thoughts back to their source, and to banish undesirable ones at will from your consciousness. And finally, how to control and utilize your desires so that they will always serve you instead of your being a slave to them. You have within you all possibilities, for I am there. My idea must express, and it must express through you. It will express itself perfectly if you but let it. If you will only still your human mind, put aside all personal ideas, beliefs, and opinions, and let it flow forth. All you need to do is turn within to me and let me direct your thinking and your desires. Let me express whatever I will, you personally accepting and doing what I desire you to do. Then will your desires come true, your life become one grand harmony, your world a heaven, and yourself one with myself. When you have begun to realize this and have glimpsed somewhat of its inner meaning, then you will be ready to grasp the real import of what follows. We will now take the key and show you how the plan and process just described is the one by which the world came into existence. How the earth and all that is in it and on it, including yourself and your brothers and sisters, are but the outer manifestations of an idea, my idea, which is now being thought into life expression. I, the creator, am the original thinker, the one and only thinker. First, know that, as previously stated, man does not think. It is I who think through his organism. Man believes he thinks, but before he was awakened to a realization of me, within he only takes the thoughts I attract to or inspire in his mind, and, mistaking their real meaning and purpose, places a personal construction upon them, and through the selfish desires thus aroused, creates for himself all his troubles and brings upon himself all his woes. These apparent mistakes, misconstructions, and interferences of man are in reality only the obstacles in his way to be overcome, that he may, through the overcoming, finally develop a body and mind strong and clean and capable enough to express perfectly and consciously this idea of mine, eternally working within his soul. Man, then, is only the organism I am thus preparing, through which to manifest the perfection of my idea. He provides the personality with its body, mind, and intellect, through which I can express this idea perfectly, the physical brain, with which I can think and speak it into outer manifestation. I plant in man's brain an idea, any idea. That idea would grow, mature, and speedily ripen into complete outer fruition or manifestation. If man only would let it, would give his mind and all its thoughts, his heart and all its desires wholly over to me, and let me come forth as the perfect fulfillment of that idea. I will now plant in your brain mind an idea. May it grow, mature, and ripen into the glorious harvest of wisdom which is awaiting you if you let me direct its growth and expression through you. In one of my other revelations called the Bible, you are told much about the Word, but very few, even the most learned Bible students, comprehend my meaning. You are told, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him by the Word, and without him the Word was not anything made that was made. You shall learn herein how my Word was in the beginning, how it was with me, and how it was I myself, how all things were made by me, and by my Word, and that without me and my Word was nothing made that now exists. Now, a word to the human understanding is a symbol of an idea. That is, it stands for, embodies, and represents an idea. You are a word, a symbol of an idea. If you can see it, so is a diamond, a violet, a horse. When you can discern the idea back of the symbol, then you know the soul, or the reality of the manifestation appearing as a man, a diamond, a horse, a violet. Hence, a word as used in the above quotation means an idea latent and unmanifest, however, waiting to be expressed, or thought and spoken forth in some form or another. The Word that was in the beginning and that was with me was then not only an idea, but it was my idea of myself in expression, in a new state or condition which you call earth life. This idea was I, myself, because it was part of me, being as yet latent and unmanifest within me, for it was of the substance and essence of my being, which is itself an idea, the one original idea. All things were made by me, by the vitalized action of this, my idea, being thought and spoken into expression. And nothing has been or ever can be expressed in earth life without having my idea as the primary and fundamental cause and principle of its being. This, my idea, therefore, is now in the process of unfoldment, or of being thought into outer expression. Some call it evolution, just as is the flower when the bud puts forth from the stalk, and finally opens into the blossom, obeying the urge to express my idea hidden within its soul. Just so will I develop and unfold all my mediums of expression. which shall finally, unitedly, and completely picture forth my idea from out their souls in all the glory of its perfection. At present, these mediums are of such nature that they require many languages of many types, from the simplest to the most complex, composed of almost an infinite number of words to express my idea. But when I shall have completely thought out my idea, or shall have perfected my many mediums of expression, then shall my idea shine forth in every word, each, in fact, being a perfect part or phrase of my idea, all so chosen and arranged that they will really be as one word, radiating the sublime significance of my meaning. Then shall all languages have melted, merged into one language, and all words into one word, for all mediums shall have become one flesh, the now perfected medium for the complete expression in one word of my idea, myself. Then shall myself, now capable of being expressed by these perfected words, shine through its medium of expression, through the personalities, their bodies, minds, and intellects, and the words shall have become flesh, or shall be the flesh. This means that all words, through the regenerative power of my idea within, shall have evolved through the flesh, transmuting and spiritualizing it, and making it so transparent and pure that the personality will have nothing more of earth nature left in it to hinder impersonal expression, enabling myself, therefore, to shine forth perfectly and become fully manifest, thus amalgamating once more all words and all flesh into one word, the Word, which was in the beginning, and which then will shine through all created flesh as the Son of Glory, the Christ of God. This is the plan and purpose of my creation, and of all manifested things, a glimpse of the process of my creation, or of my thinking, my idea of myself into earth expression will be given in what follows. You've been told, which is now in the process of being thought into perfect expression. You have been shown that my idea is responsible for all created things, and that it is both the cause and the reason for all manifestations, yourself and your brothers and sisters included, all of which have been thought into existence by me, the one original thinker and creator. We will now trace the course of that idea from the beginning, through its various stages of earth expression, as well as the process of my thinking that idea into its present state of manifestation. In the beginning, at the dawn of a new cosmic day, when the word consciousness was just awakening, and the stillness of cosmic night yet prevailed, I, the thinker, conceived my idea. This, my idea of myself in manifestation in a new condition called earth expression, I saw completely pictured in the mirror of my omniscient mind. In this mirror I saw the real earth shining forth brilliantly in the cosmos, a perfect sphere, where all the infinite phases, attributes, and powers of my divine nature were finding perfect expression through the medium of angels of light, living messengers of my will, my word in the flesh, even as it is in the celestial world of the eternal. I saw myself manifesting outwardly as nature, and my life as the vivifying and evolving principle back of all manifestation. I saw love, the divine creative power, as the animating and vitalizing force back of all life, and my desire to give perfect expression to that love as the potential and real cause and real reason of the birth of my idea. All this I saw mirrored in my all-seeing and all-knowing mind, which could see and reflect only the soul of things or their reality. Therefore, this that I saw pictured in my mind was the real Earth. In fact, its beginning, its conception into cosmic being. Now, my consciousness is the inner essence of all space and all life. It is the real substance of my all-comprehending and all-including mind, whose informing and vitalizing center is everywhere, and its limit and circumference nowhere. Within the realm of my mind alone, I live and move and have my being. It both contains and fills all things, and its every vibration and manifestation is but the expression of some phase of my being. Being is expressing or outpressing. You cannot imagine being without expression. Therefore, I, all that is, am expressing, constantly and continuously expressing. Expressing what? What else could I express if I am all that is but myself? You cannot yet see or comprehend when I inspire you with an idea. Therefore, if I am all there is, that idea which is direct from me must be part of or a phase of myself in being or expression. Any idea once born within the realm of my mind, as has been shown, immediately becomes a reality, for in the eternality of my being, time is not. With you, however, an idea first creates desire, a desire to express that idea. Then desire compels thinking. Thinking causes action, and action produces results. The idea in actual outer manifestation. In reality, I have no desire, for I am all things, and all things are of me. I need only to think and speak the words to produce the results. Yet that desire you feel in you is from me, because it is born of my idea, which I implanted in your mind, only that it might come forth into expression through you. Indeed, whatever you desire is I, knocking at the door of your mind, announcing my purpose of manifesting myself in you or through you in the particular form indicated by that desire. What is called desire in human personalities is but the necessary action of my will pushing forth the expression of my idea into outer manifestation or being. What to you would seem to be in me a desire for expression is but the necessity of my idea of myself to be or express itself. Therefore, every real desire you feel, every desire of your heart, comes from me, and must of necessity sometime, in some shape or other, be fulfilled. However, as I have no desire because I am all things, once this idea of expressing myself in this new condition was born, I had but to think, that is to concentrate or focus my attention upon my idea and will it to come forth into expression, or as is told in my other revelation, to speak the creative word. And at once did the cosmic forces of my being, set in vibration by the concentrating of my will, proceed to attract the necessary elements from the eternal storehouse of my mind, and with my idea as a nucleus to combine form and shape around it these elements into what is called a thought form of a planet, filling it with my life substance, my consciousness, and endowing it with all the potentialities of my being. This act of thinking produced only a vitalized thought form of a planet, and its manifestation was still in a nebulous state in the thought realm. From a thought form, however, quickening power of the idea within, with my will focused upon it, proceeded to mold, fashion, and gradually to solidify into material form the various elements of life substance, until my idea finally shone forth in substantial manifestation in the world of visible forms as the planet Earth, a medium ready for living expression, and now capable of both containing and expressing me. This was the material body prepared by my thinking, in which already dealt all the potential nature of my being by reason of the informing power of my idea within. The next stage was the developing and preparing of avenues or mediums through which I could express the manifold phases, possibilities, and powers of my idea. The outward evidence of this was what is known as the mineral, vegetable, and animal kingdoms, which each in turn, as it came into manifestation, gradually unfolded higher and more complex states of consciousness that enabled me more and more clearly to express the infinite phases and variety of my nature. It was at this stage that I looked upon my creation, as stated in my other revelation, and saw that it was good. But there yet remained the final and culminating medium of expression. Up to this point, while each perfectly expressed some phase of my nature, yet all existing mediums and avenues were unconscious of me, and were mediums of expression, only as a wire is a medium for conducting heat, light, and power. The conditions were ripe, however, for the creation of mediums through which my divine attributes could find conscious expression, conscious not only of their relationship to me, but of their ability and power to express my idea. It was at this moment in time that you and your brothers and sisters were born into existence as human expressions, coming into manifestation as you did. Similarly, with all other mediums, in response to my concentrated thought, in which I saw all the infinite variety of my attributes in actual expression, in entitized forms, each manifesting in predominance some particular phase of my being, and each conscious of me, its creator and expressor. I saw you in a perfect expression, even as I see you now, the real you, an attribute of myself perfect. For in reality, you are an angel of light, one of my thought rays, an attribute of my being, ensouled in earth conditions with no other purpose, which is no purpose at all, but a necessity of my being, but the final, complete expression of my idea. In the eternal, there is no time or space, or individuality, and it is only by reason of the phenomenon of thought being born from the womb of mind into the world of matter that the illusions of time, space, and individuality occur. The thought or creature acquiring the consciousness of separateness from its thinker or creator. So it was then that the first tendency to think yourself as separate from me was born. The complete consciousness of separation did not become established until long after. In the beginning, when you thus first entered into earth expression, obeying the impulse I had sent forth through my concentrated thought, you, one of my attributes, surrounded or clothed yourself with my idea of myself in expression as the particular attribute you represented, you being the animating force of that idea. In other words, my idea of myself expressing that particular attribute then became the soul of your particular expression. But that idea or soul is not you. Remember, for you are really a part of me, being myself in expression through the medium of that particular attribute. Having clothed yourself with my idea, this idea then, through the necessity of its being, immediately began to attract itself the necessary thought substance requisite for the expression of that particular attribute and to build and shape it into my image and likeness. It thus became a holy temple filled with my living presence, because inhabited by you, one of my divine attributes. This temple, being in my image and likeness, and composed of my thought, substance, surrounding and clothing my idea, is consequently your real body. It is therefore indestructible, immortal, perfect. It is my complete, imagined thought containing my living essence, imagined in, awaiting the time when it can come into outer expression and take on material form. So now we have, first, I am, expressing as you one of my divine attributes. Second, my idea of you, one of my attributes expressing in earth conditions or your soul. Third, my imaged thought of you, forming the temple of your soul, or your soul body in which you dwell. These three make up the divine or impersonal part of you, the immortal three-in-one you, my latent yet completely formulated thought shaped in my image and likeness, as yet unquickened and therefore having no connection with your human personality which has not yet been born. Whether or not you have gotten any clear grasp of what has just been stated, do not discard it as impossible of comprehension. For in every line is hidden a meaning that will mean more than repay you for the study necessary to make it become clear. This message is to awaken you to a realization of what you are, to a realization of your real self. It is intended to make you once more conscious of me, your divine self. So conscious that never again will you be deceived by that other self, which you have imagined as being you, and which so long has lured you on by feeding you with its unsatisfying sense pleasures, its mental dissipations, and emotional delights. Before that can be, it will be necessary for you thoroughly to know that supposed other self, that self, which you created by thinking it real and separate from me, and then kept alive by giving it the power thus to entice and deceive you. Yes, that self-created self, with its purely selfish pride and ambitions and imagined power, its love of life, of possessions, of being thought wise or good, but which self is merely your human personality, which was born only to die as a separate identity, and as such has no more reality or permanence than the leaf, the snow, or the cloud. Yes, you will be brought face to face with that petty personal self, and will see with perfect vision all its sordid selfishness and human vanities. And you will then learn, if you but turn to me and ask in simple faith, and trust that it is I, the infinite, impersonal part of you, abiding always within, who am thus pointing out to you all these illusions of the personality, which for so many ages have separated you in consciousness from me, your glorious divine self. This realization will surely come when you can recognize that this message is from me, and when you have determined that it shall be, to you whom I have inspired with such a determination, I will cause every illusion in time to disappear, and you shall in truth know me. The exercise of your mind along these abstract lines will not hurt you. Instead, it is what your mind needs. For not until you can grasp my meaning when presented to you in ideas, such as there herein contained, coming from without, can you perceive and correctly interpret my idea. When I inspire you from within, your mind I am thus preparing for use, not to gain more earthly knowledge, but in order that you can receive and give forth my heavenly knowledge to those whom I shall bring to you for that purpose, with a prayer to me, your own real self, your Father in heaven, that true realization may come. Read carefully what follows. We have arrived in the course of our consideration of the process of unfoldment of my idea to where the I am of you manifesting in your immortal soul body or in the thought image created by my thinking is now ready to take on a substantial form, a form suitable for the earth expression of my attributes. This change from a mental to a mortal form took place after the manner and process of all thinking and creating, and is literally described in the Bible, where it says, I formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Shall I explain further? That the quickening power within my idea, your soul, proceeded to attract to it the various elements of life, substance, and dust, and atom by atom and cell by cell, in due course of time, to mold and shape each into substantial reality, after the pattern of the thought image composing your soul body, thus forming an earthly outer covering, as it were, until finally your mortal form actually became manifest to the psychic sense, if not yet to what is called the physical sense, whereupon, all being now prepared for this cyclic moment, you, my attribute, breathed into and then through its nostrils, from within, the breath of life, and you then made your first appearance of earth as a human being, a living soul, my idea now able to express consciously through a suitable earth medium, containing within yourself all of my attributes, all of my powers, and all of my possibilities. Thus were now manifest all the various mediums for the earth expression of my idea. And you, being one of my attributes, naturally had dominion over all of these mediums, or possessed the power of utilizing any or all of them, if necessary, for the full and complete expression of my attributes, powers, and possibilities. In this manner, and for this reason alone, did you and your brothers and sisters come into human expression. While in human form, yet your expression was so entirely impersonal that, though self-conscious, you still looked wholly to me within for inspiration and guidance. This, then, was the first condition into which you awakened when you entered into earth expression, and is what is called the Edenic state, or dwelling in the Garden of Eden. This Edenic state represents the celestial phase of impersonal consciousness, or that state in which you were still consciously one with me, though now confined in a mortal medium of expression. Now, I shall not tell you in detail how or why it became necessary for me to drive you, now manifesting as man or humanity, out of the Garden of Eden, other than to remind you of the part that desire plays in earth expression and its relation to my will, how it centers your interest in outer things and makes you forget me within. When you have solved that and comprehended somewhat of my reason, then perhaps you can understand the necessity of first causing you, humanity, to fall into a deep sleep. You, having arrived at the close of another cycle called a cosmic day, and of letting you dream you had awakened, but in reality, you were and are still asleep. And everything from that day to this, including all seeming earthly events and conditions, have been but a dream, from which you will fully awaken only when you, humanity, again become wholly conscious of me within, and of finding yourself, humanity, no longer outwardly one, but two. One, an active, thinking, aggressive part, thereafter called a man, and the other a passive, feeling, receptive part, a womb man or a woman. Also, the necessity of these seeming earth influences being brought to bear to draw your consciousness from purely celestial delights and to hold it in this new dream condition in order to develop a mortal mind that you might, through its natural selfish tendencies, become centered entirely upon your earthly mission of mortal expression. And the wisdom of having this influence through the serpent of selfishness, the shape I caused it to assume in your mind. First, generate in the passive, feeling, receptive part of your desire the mortal agent of my will, which was to supply the motives and the power for the further and complete expression of my attributes on earth. And finally, the necessity of desire casting its complete spell over you, humanity, that your celestial or impersonal nature might be kept deep in sleep until, in your dream, by the free but ignorant use of my will, you could taste and fully eat of the fruit of the so-called tree of knowledge of good and evil, and through the eating could learn properly to discriminate and know its fruit for what it really is, and thus acquire the strength to use the knowledge thus gained wisely and perfectly in the expression of my idea only. You likewise possibly now can understand how in your dream you became more and more engrossed in and attached to this false earth state. Through first eating of this fruit and expression, and the wisdom of having this influence through the serpent of selfishness, the shape I caused it to assume in your mind, first generate in the passive, feeling, receptive part of your desire the mortal agent of my will, which was to supply the motives and the power for the further and complete expression of my attributes on earth. And finally, the necessity of desire casting its complete spell over you, humanity, that your celestial or impersonal nature might be kept deep in sleep until in your dream, by the free but ignorant use of my will, you could taste and fully eat of the fruit of the so-called tree of knowledge of good and evil. And through the eating could learn properly to discriminate and know its fruit for what it really is, and thus acquire the strength to use the knowledge thus gained wisely and perfectly in the expression of my idea only. You likewise possibly now can understand how in your dream you became more and more engrossed in and attached to this false earth state. Through first eating of this fruit and learning to know good and evil, and after learning of the new and enticing world, thus opened up to you, dying to the knowledge of the reality back of it all, and how and why it was you learned that you were naked, both the thinking and the feeling parts of you, and also why you grew afraid and tried to hide from me, thus creating in your consciousness the sense of separation from me. Now, perhaps you can see why this all had to be, why you, humanity, had to leave the Edenic state of impersonal consciousness and lose yourself wholly in the earth illusions of this dream world in order to be able to create a body and develop in it a personal or self-consciousness capable of fully expressing my perfection. Thus was born your human personality, and since its birth have I impelled you to nourish, support, and strengthen it by filling you with longings, hopes, ambitions, and aspirations, with all the various manifestations of desire, which are but the human phases of my will, operating in the preparation and development of a medium capable of expressing perfectly my attributes on earth. And so I spake the word, and drove you out of the Garden of Eden, and clothed you with a coat of skin, or, in other words, with flesh, the same as other animals, for now, in order that you might enter into the heart of earth conditions, into the real earth, the earth of my idea, not the one of your dream, so as to quicken my idea therein into active life expression. You, my attribute, had to have an organism and a covering appropriate to the conditions in which you were to manifest in your dream. Likewise, in thus giving you a coat of skin, did I, by so doing, provide my idea with a suitable form for earthly expression. I gave you the power to express yourself through a definite organism by means of words. In the impersonal, there is no use or necessity for words. Ideas alone exist and express. They simply are, for they are the expression of the various phases of my being,